I'm headed to the Chicago Toy Game Show. This is something that's been happening for 52 years, which is outstanding. I would love to dive into the history of that, but I've got a shopping list of 3 items that I want to complete. And we'll recap it all once I've gone through the show floor and see if I can collect these things. The first thing on my shopping list is Destro, number 03 from the G.I. Joe Classified series. I never picked up the initial first wave in its entirety for the G.I. Joe Classified series. I feel like it's time to complete that. The second thing is a little more nebulous. I just want to add to a collection that I have just a little bit of. And I don't want to make it like a huge purchase. I just want it to be like a nice little tuck-in, maybe something that would look really great in my display behind me. Yeah, I know there's not like a whole lot of parameters there, but I'll know it when I see it. It's one of those things, right? And if I don't see it, then I guess I fail that one. And lastly, if you couldn't have guessed, I'm going to try to find a 90s Nerf blaster that I don't have in my collection yet. This being a toy show, Nerf is a very popular toy, so I shouldn't have any trouble finding Nerf products there. And if that's the case, I'm actually going to be very surprised. It's time to pack up the gear. I don't know how much footage I'm going to have at the show because it's my first time ever going, and I just want to use all of my senses, all of my eyes, all of my hunting ability to try to find those 3 items on my list. So we'll recap afterwards. Don't worry. Wish me luck. All right, so we're at the Chicago Toy Show, and I'm not quite sure what to expect. We have our shopping list, so I know exactly what I'm looking for. Hopefully, we can find it.
So when you said let's get invisible, I'm like, I literally said
All right, the toy fair is complete. I got some Z-Bots, which is something that I definitely wanted to add to a small collection that I remember having. And then, let's see, we'll grab the Destro. I was able to find the Destro. Super glad to have him in there so I can swap him out to be the definitive version of Destro. Just my luck, though, they'll probably make a new Destro, and then I'll have to get that one. And the one I guess I technically didn't succeed on was the Nerf one. But I think I improved upon that goal by getting an original Nerf set before blasters were a thing. I know I didn't get a ton of footage inside the toy show, but I just really wanted to have a time to look and browse. This is the first time I've ever been, and I just wanted to have all of my perceptors, all of my, all of my attention towards the shelves, the racks, the bins, the bags, everything. Definitely going back another time. Everything you could possibly imagine to rummage through was there across multiple different buildings, and it was just one day, or at least I only went the one day, but honestly, this was something extremely awesome. I loved going there, and once I got into the groove, once I was able to soak it all in and then hunt for the toys that I was shopping for, well, that's when things started to get really fun. Here he is, right here, brand new in box, number 03. This is Destro from the G.I. Joe Classified series, the initial first waves. He has a golden weapon as part of his accessory kit. That is something tried and true that you know is part of the initial waves of G.I. Joe Classified, because that was a hallmark of the series until they moved away and started getting a little more, I would say, classic with the designs of the figures. Not for the most part, but like they started to infuse more classic designs. Now I was surprised. I thought I would be able to knock out finding Destro pretty early, but it took going through 2 different buildings to find a booth that had a Destro for a price that I was willing to pay for it. And I think that's one of the key things to know about these toy shows is that oftentimes things are negotiable. Not always, but oftentimes they are. You'll see signs saying that things are negotiable, or towards the end of the event when people don't want to pack everything back up, they'll start offering deals. But that's just something when you go to these toy shows, know that the prices you can sometimes barter a little bit. Now, the second thing on my shopping list, the small addition to my collection, was nebulous for a reason. I wasn't quite sure exactly what I was shopping for, so in my mind I was thinking like maybe a G.I. Joe, a food fighter, a Barnyard Commando, something small that I could just put on the shelf and call it a day. But then I turned the corner kind of in a quiet area of one of the buildings and I found the Z-Bots. Here we go. Here's the first Z-Bot that I chose. It was 3 for $10, and you know what? I remember having these as a kid, and they were so much fun. And eagle-eye people can see that right back, where is it? Right up there, you can see one of the Z-Bot vehicle playsets. So that was just a fun thing. I'm going to add these guys to there because there are pegs inside the vehicle where I can have them stand, and even like on his knees and stuff, you can just really load it up with a bunch of Z-Bots. I purposely got mostly yellow ones so that I could feel like I assembled a team of sorts, because that was, like, I don't remember much of the lore behind Z-Bots. I know there were different factions and things like that, but honestly, a lot of that has been lost to time in my brain. But in my mind, I could replicate that in a more modern context just by matching the color of the robots. And since it's kind of fall time, I figured yellow was a good fit. But that was like a lot of fun to be able to find something rather small that didn't take up a whole lot of space and was just kind of fun to rummage through. And I think that is a key piece that I learned going through the toy show, is that the ability and the stamina to go through all of the bags, to look through everything, it actually takes a lot to be able to know what you're looking for and then assess the quality and then, ask the right questions to see if that's something that you just want to add to your collection or something you just want to leave behind for somebody else. And Z-Bots, I only found 2 different stalls with Z-Bots in them. So I purchased the first ones that I saw, then it wasn't until later that I saw some more Z-Bots. And it's usually right there next to all the muscle, all of the other like small little figurines. The Z-Bots for me were just something I remember as a kid. The muscles are cool, but I just like the colorful nature of the Z-Bots. And for the last item, my 90s Nerf blaster, or Nerf product, I failed at. There was very little Nerf at the entire toy show. There were some N-Strike Elite things. There was a Rapid Strike. There was a Vulcan. There was a Long Shot in box. They were all in box. And there was one really rough-looking, small soldiers, Laramie, like air-powered Super Soaker-esque blaster. And I was really getting discouraged because I wasn't quite sure if I was going to find one. And there was a moment in time where I was considering getting one of the G.I. Joe vehicles, like the Detonator, I believe it was called, because it had some Nerf arrows with it. They had the stickers on them. It was so cool, but I thought, like, I don't really have the space for that. And I would have to remove one of these classified things, and I'm not really collecting G.I. Joe Real American Hero stuff. So ultimately, I failed for the Nerf item. But honestly, I think I did one better because I found an original Nerf golf set still in the box. That was incredible. The last building, as I was walking my way out of the toy show, I saw this amongst a bunch of other stuff. It was some lunch boxes, some Barbie dolls, some other stuff, and then there was the Nerf golf set. The golf balls have never been removed from the cellophane bag, and everything looks like it has never been assembled. I don't even know, like, before blasters, my knowledge of Nerf stuff is actually pretty slim. I know they did golf, they did ping pong, they did a bunch of other tabletop-esque games, but there's a bunch of other stuff out there too. And that was like the last thing I learned from the whole toy show thing, is that there are certain toys kind of on the ascent and there are certain toys that are on the descent. Nerf barely registered. Like, I don't think it's very popular for people to collect. I think I own it all. No, I'm just kidding. It's not a very popular collection. I think part of the mechanical nature of it, that there's so much that could go wrong, rubber seals that wear out over time. People just didn't necessarily take care of them the way they took care of some of the original G.I. Joes, some of the Masters, like all that stuff was definitely more well represented. And if we're talking about some of the winners and losers in terms of where I think popularity is right now of some of these retro and nostalgic toys, G.I. Joe Real American Hero, it's got to be at the top of that list. Crazy amount of stuff, crazy prices for it. Just so many. There was one booth. They must have collected every single vehicle in box, and it was just so incredible to see them still sitting in the box, and like you can mentally transport yourself back to a Toys R Us, a KB Toys, any of those places that would have all of them just sitting on the shelves waiting, and put it in your cart for, a birthday present or a Christmas present or something like that. So it was super cool to see. But on the decline, it feels like some of the Masters of the Universe stuff, just while there's a ton of it out there, it was really, really reasonably priced. Now, there are exceptions to that, of course. There is a lot of extremely expensive Masters of the Universe stuff, but for the most part, loose figures and stuff were super affordable. So if you're still looking for Masters of the Universe stuff, it's out there, and very, very good prices. And the other piece that on the ascent would be some of the Ninja Turtle stuff that a lot of it's carded. a lot of just those rare figures towards the late end series of the Ninja Turtle waves from Playmates, and the vehicles. The vehicles with all the pieces and parts and stickers on them, those fetched a pretty penny. But alas, Nerf was woefully underrepresented. And, honestly, I think the reason for that is just because it just never caught on the same way. It doesn't have the same personality. It doesn't have the same characterizations of individual figures as Lego, Marvel Legends, G.I. Joe, Masters of the Universe, Ninja Turtles, anything like that. Nerf kind of sits apart from that. It's more of a mechanical toy. And overall, thinking about it, there just weren't that many mechanical toys. A few cap guns, a few BB guns from probably the late 40s, 50s, things like that. So those were cool, like antique toys. And then some of the more modern antique stuff, I guess I'm an antique now, was just more readily available, save for Nerf. But yes, the Chicago Toy Show is something I'm definitely going to make a point of going to next summer. So they do it once a fall, once a summer. The summer one, definitely going to make it to, and hopefully partake in more of the festivities or more of the trading and collecting that surrounds that event, because I feel like the actual grounds where all of the booths and the selling happens is only just a small fraction of what this toy show is about. And if you like this discussion on me being on location and trying to complete a shopping list, let me know in the comment section, because I talk about action figures, collectibles, pop culture, toys, blasters, anything action related. You can stay tuned here at the RyFi channel. And all you got to do is just hit subscribe. Easy as that. You get more videos like this, and hopefully more of me in the field with better footage, because next time I'll know the score, I'll get better footage and maybe chat with a few people to see what they're collecting, because I was super curious to see what people were carrying in their hands, and there's got to be a story behind it. But for now, that's all I know about the Chicago Toy Show October 2025 event. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.